Good morning, everyone, and happy Sunday. Welcome back to another Sunday meal prep video. I hope that you've been enjoying these videos. I'm kind of getting back into the swing of things, like I said last week, and I feel like I'm kind of on a roll again. But I'm glad that you are here, and if you are new here, my name is Jennifer. I am 47 years old, almost 48. I've been doing WW for about 3 years now. So my husband and I have been meal prepping this way for the past 3 years. We love it. I choose 2 meals each week. I make 6 servings of each, and then we just alternate those Sunday night through Friday night. Honestly, after you get used to doing that, it's hard to like go back to, oh, what am I going to eat tonight? You know, we never have to think about that. We know. We just automatically know what we're going to eat. It kind of takes the guesswork out of it, and it takes a lot of work during the week out of it too, especially since we both seem to be working a lot here lately. I work late. He's been working late. It helps a ton. So highly recommend. One question I get asked a lot is, do my meals last in the refrigerator all week? And they do. I've never had any issues with any of my meals going bad or anything. Of course, we will eat one today, so then we kind of have 5 leftover meals to eat throughout the rest of the week. If you wanted to freeze them, I'm sure that you could freeze some of the meals. People ask me. I have never frozen any of them that I've made, but I'm sure that you could, and it would be fine. So with all of that being said, we're going to get into the video real quick. I was just going to go over what we are making today. So we are having the homemade chicken noodle soup. That is by request of Charlie. I kind of wanted like that Cajun chicken and sausage and rice dish, but I gave him a choice between that and the soup, and so he chose the soup. And then we're having chicken enchiladas, and those are really easy to make. Both meals are. I'm getting ready to put the soup on, and then while it's cooking, I'm actually going to make my breakfast and kind of get that out of the way, do my fruit bowls, all of that good stuff. I am having sandwiches this week. I'm going to have to send Charlie on a little Publix run because they did not have my Sausalito turkey breast at Kroger yesterday, and then I need some Mexican cheese. I think he would probably really prefer that on his enchiladas, and I do like a mixture of the Mexican blend cheese with just my fat-free mozzarella to cut down on the points. A couple of other things that we probably need to pick up as well, and then I am going to do some banana bread, like based off of the Hannah banana bread recipe, but I am going to use a chocolate cake this week because maybe Roy or somebody else had said they had tried it with a chocolate cake and it was delicious. So I have 3 really ripe bananas over here, and I need to use those up. And yeah, so that's pretty much what we're making. So we've got chicken noodle soup, chicken enchiladas, and then my breakfast prep, which I'm not going to film. A couple of videos back, I did show like how I make my bacon and everything. I cook it in the microwave. It gets nice and crispy. It keeps it nice and flat, and it stays crispy all week long. I don't have any issues with it. And then I just make like a huge batch of my scrambled eggs. I don't really like to film it. It's kind of messy, but anyway, I did kind of show like my step-by-step process a few videos back. I mean, it's scrambled eggs and bacon, so anybody can make it. And so I'm going to kind of knock those out of the way and get my fruit bowls done while the chicken noodle soup cooks. And then I have already put my chicken breast on, which you will see a clip here or right before I do the chicken enchiladas of me putting them in the crock pot. Of course, you could always use rotisserie chicken or something like that if you wanted to, but I just always prefer to use the chicken breast myself, and this salsa that I put on there gives it a lot of flavor, so highly recommend. But also, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like, give me a thumbs up, and follow me over on Instagram if you haven't done that yet. I will leave my Instagram handle for you here on the screen, and also join our Facebook group, which I co-admin with Roy from Recipes with Roy and Bree with Balancing Life with Bree. This is the icon to that group. There is a direct link down in the description box, pretty much of all my videos to that Facebook group, so highly recommend you join. So with all of that being said, let's get into the video. Okay, so this is earlier in the day, and I am putting my chicken in the crock pot before I really get started meal prepping because this needs to cook for at least 4 hours. I just like to use 3 boneless, skinless chicken breasts. I just put salt and pepper on them, and then I like to use this Frontera Cilantro Jalapeno Salsa. It's really good, and I literally just pour it right over them and just let it cook on high for at least 4 hours or so until they are, you know, easily shreddable and completely done through and through. And that's all it is to it. And this really gives you a good flavorful chicken for your enchilada mixture. And then once we get ready to make it, it actually comes together really quick. Yeah, so at least a few hours before you get ready to make it, then you need to use this, unless you use like a rotisserie chicken or something. So I'm just going to put it on high. I'm going to set it for like 8 hours, even though it's not going to cook for that long, but just so that it doesn't cut off or something. Alrighty guys, I have my fruit and yogurt bowls ready for the week. I only had to make 6 things of yogurt because I still have one left from last week to eat, but I did make my 7 containers of fruit as usual. And for anyone new here, I do eat this with my lunch as my side to my turkey sandwich that I take every day. All right, I have my breakfast prep for the week per usual. I have my 5 containers of scrambled eggs and then 10 pieces of bacon, which I will have 2 each day. Again, I cook them flat in the microwave, just on paper towels, and I basically do 5 slices at a time and cook them for 5 minutes each. And then I just store them in a Ziploc bag that I reuse every week, just like that. So breakfast is done. Got that out of the way. Alrighty, so we are going to get started with this homemade chicken noodle soup. This is from budgetbites.com. I will have it linked down in the description box below, along with the link to my recipe and my WW app. But it calls for 2 tablespoons of olive oil. This is where I try to make substitutions and make things lower in points. So it calls for 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I will just use my olive oil spray. It calls for onion. We don't use onion. If you're new here, we don't like it, so we just leave it out. 3 cloves of garlic. I do have my minced garlic here. I will use like 3 teaspoons. Half a pound of carrots, which I have a whole pound of carrots, and like a whole thing of celery that Charlie chopped up. I told him that I did not need that much celery, but he chopped that much up. We will see what we use. Whatever I don't use, then I will just freeze, and hopefully we can use it later. And he chopped up the whole 1 pound bag of carrots. So he kind of did a little bit extra. Also, it only calls for 2 split chicken breasts, but he left me 3. I don't know, maybe if he thought these were on the small side. So I'm just going to go ahead and cook all 3 of them. Then you also need some seasoning. So you need some thyme, some parsley, some basil, and a bay leaf. I usually put like 2 bay leaves in, just because I feel like I always bulk things up and make a little bit more than what the recipe calls for. And then it calls for 6 ounces of egg noodles. I'm going to use my Fiber Gourmet. I just wanted to show I did have to reorder, and then it came in these nice little boxes, which I actually kind of prefer because they take up less space in my cabinet. So that is still 8 ounces in there, and so I think that is pretty much it. Salt and pepper. You do have to like really salt. Oh, I am going to get out some chicken broth. I have a couple of the big containers. It does call for 8 cups of water, but I have found that if I don't add additional water and chicken broth in there by the time that it cooks down, because really we're going to saute the garlic and the carrots and the celery for a little while, and then put the chicken breast in there, and then it's going to have to cook for like an hour. It seems to me that a lot of the water cooks out of it. So I'm going to go ahead and add in like one of those full cartons of chicken broth as well. And then if I need to add some more water or chicken broth later, I will do that also. And then it does kind of call for like 2 to 3 teaspoons of salt kind of at the end. And I do recommend putting that in there. It does give it a good flavor. And Charlie likes this, and it tastes similar to that Mama Mandola's chicken soup that you can get at Carrabba's if you've ever tried it. It's not exactly the same, but it's similar, and I like this one too because it doesn't have potatoes, and that other one does, and I don't like potatoes in soup, but whatever. So I'm going to get started on this. I'm going to go ahead and get my seasonings and everything measured out so that we will be ready to go. Alrighty, so what we have in here is the 3 teaspoons of minced garlic, the carrots, and then half of the celery. So I felt like that was just too much celery. I'm fine with the carrots, but I don't want like an overpowering taste of celery. And Charlie did come in, and I was like, why did you leave me 3 chicken breasts? He said, well, I felt like they were small, so that's kind of what I thought. So we are just going to go ahead and we will just have some extra protein, which is fine because chicken is 0 for me, and almost everything in this recipe actually is 0 for me except for the pasta. And y'all know I love the Fiber Gourmet. So I have this going. We're just going to saute this for a few minutes. I went ahead and measured out my basil, my thyme, my parsley, and got my bay leaves out. I did put some salt and pepper on the chicken breast so that they will be ready to go in a minute. So we will just be back, and I will give you an update once I kind of get the chicken and everything in, and then it basically just has to simmer for like an hour. So we're just going to let these kind of soften up a little bit, and then it'll be time to add everything else in. Okay, I'm sure that is loud, but we have sauteed the garlic, the celery, and the carrots. I'm going to add in the bay leaf and the other seasonings that I already had measured out. I have my chicken breast in there, obviously. It says to add in some fresh cracked pepper, so we're just going to sprinkle a little bit of this in there. And then we're going to add in the 8 cups of water, which this is a Pampered Chef bowl, and it is exactly 8 cups. If I can do it without making a mess. That's always tricky. Alright, I didn't spill too much. Just a little dab. We'll wipe it up real quick. And then I am going to go ahead and add in my chicken broth as well. And then basically we're going to bring it to a boil. And then we are going to put the lid on. I'm going to give it a good stir. We're going to bring it to a boil, and it needs to boil for at least an hour. You want that chicken to be cooked through really well. And then we will add in the noodles and just bring it back to a boil later and cook those, shred the chicken, and add in the salt at that time. So it's a fairly easy recipe. It does just have to cook for, like I said, at least an hour. And we'll see how much liquid cooks down, because boiling it for an hour, in my opinion, it took a lot of liquid out the very first time that I made it. So that's why I just go ahead and add in some chicken broth, because I'm not using like the bone-in chicken. So I feel like I could use, you know, that extra chicken flavor. So I'm going to hush now. We'll be back and check on it in a bit. Alrighty, here is our soup. It has cooked for exactly an hour, and I just took the chicken out and shredded it. I did add a couple of cups of water. Just used this cup and just poured some in there. Now I need to add in the salt. This is an important step to really give it that flavor. I'm using this ½ teaspoon. I don't know if you can see that or not. So I'm going to do like 6 of these, which may seem like a lot of salt, but it does need at least the 3 teaspoons of salt. And you could go a little lighter or a little heavier if you wanted to. Okay, so everything is in here. It is pretty much ready. The only thing that we have to do is add the noodles, bring it up to a boil, and cook those. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my fiber gourmet noodles. And we're going to turn the temp back up to high, which is almost immediately going to start boiling. And so I'm just going to cook this for about 7 minutes or so, 7 to 8 more minutes, and then it should be done. And I failed to say this earlier, but we are making our cornbread muffins to go along with this for dinner. Alright, here is the soup. It is done. I just cooked it for 8 minutes just to get the rotini softened up. I am just going to let it sit here and kind of cool a little bit before we put it into our containers. So let this cool a minute and I'll be right back, and it will be plated up. Alrighty, here is the chicken noodle soup all plated up and smelling delicious. Highly recommend this meal. Not only is it an easy meal to make, it's a cheap meal to make. Again, it is on budgetbites.com. I will have it linked down in the description box below, along with the link to my recipe from my WW app. So now let's move on to the chicken enchiladas. Alrighty guys, I'm getting ready to start on the chicken enchiladas. So of course you need the shredded chicken, which I've already shredded that up, that I cooked in the crock pot. We're going to use 4 of these Laughing Cow cheese wedges. I'm going to squeeze the juice of the lime on top of it. I'm going to use 1 can of enchilada sauce and the mixture, and then I'm going to save 1 to pour on top of them once we roll them up before we bake them in the oven. I usually use fresh cilantro, but they substituted this at Kroger yesterday, so it should be fine. I try not to put too much. Charlie's not a huge fan, but I love it. We are going to need a can of these diced green chilies, and a can of drained and rinsed black beans and whole kernel corn. So that's going to kind of be my mixture. I'm going to get a skillet and get all that going in there. And then we will, Charlie's going to use, I guess, these La Banderita soft flour tortillas. And then I'm going to use my Olay Extreme Wellness wraps. And then we have some of the Mexican cheese, which Charlie will probably just use that on his. I will use a mixture of my mozzarella, my fat-free mozzarella, and that, just to cut down on the points for me. And so we're going to make enough to where each of us will have 6 enchiladas, and so that will be 2 that we will have each night. They're extremely filling, so you definitely don't need any more than that. So let me get my skillet and start getting everything together, and then we'll get them wrapped in the oven. And we're going to start placing everything in. So I'm just going to put my chicken in, and then we're just going to use 4 of these. I'll save the other 4 and then make the enchiladas again before they go bad, is what I usually do, because they're delicious and pretty easy to make. Okay, then we are going to go in with our drained and rinsed black beans and corn, and our can of the diced green chilies. We're going to go in with 1 can of our enchilada sauce. I normally like to use the Frontera that's in the packets, but they were out of it. They subbed this yesterday at Kroger, and this one's fine. I use it on the Mexican meatloaf all the time, so it should still be good. And then we are going to do the juice of a lime. I do think this gives it a really nice flavor, so I am going to do a full lime. And I love my little lemon lime squeezer here because it is so handy. I probably picked this up at TJ Maxx or somewhere like that. And then we're going to go in with a little of this cilantro, not very much. We're just going to sprinkle some in there. Charlie won't like too much of it, so we'll just save this for another day. And that's pretty much it. I'm just going to mix this again until everything is warmed through and the cheese is blended and melted with everything. And then this will be our filling for the enchiladas. I'm going to get Charlie to get us out 2 casserole dishes so that we can each kind of work together and get these made up. He will have his own tray of them and then I will have mine. And we're kind of doing this a little bit late. If you watched my vlog before this, we took a break and went to Costco. So this one's going to be our dinner because by the time that I get this done, it will be dinner time. So that's pretty much it on that. We will be back once we're assembling. Alrighty guys, so I have our station set up. I just went ahead and separated the mixture between me and Charlie. I really just weighed it out to split it evenly. Charlie is already starting to make his enchiladas, and then he has his casserole dish. I have mine, and then we just kind of have these little pads, if it will focus, just to roll it on. So, and then just put it seam side down in there. So I'll set you up. We'll get them rolled up real quick.
Out of my control, I want that something, baby, 'cause I can go without. Mama used to tell me love ain't right if it ain't easy, but I'm in too deep to walk away from you. Papa used to tell me love should never drive you crazy, but I lose my mind if you don't get his suit. I'm addicted to your love, to your love, your love. I'm never gonna get enough. I'm a sucker for your love, for your love, your love. I'm never gonna get enough. You can end it, say it's over.
Okay, so I have my enchiladas and Charlie has his. He's already put the Mexican cheese on his. I'm going to put 2 servings of each, the Mexican cheese and then the fat-free mozzarella on mine, so it'll be 56 grams of each. There we go. There's 56 of that exactly. And then, I hope this one has 56 grams in it. I'll probably just use the rest of it. There's only about 44 grams, but that's plenty of cheese. I don't want to open another pack just for a little bit. So then we're just going to top them with the remaining enchilada sauce. Charlie's going to get us some aluminum foil out and we're going to cover them and they're going to bake in the oven for 20 minutes and then they'll be delicious and ready to go. Alrighty guys, here are the chicken enchiladas fresh out of the oven. The one here on the right is Charlie's and then this smaller container is mine. These I will not plate up into meal prep containers, mostly because I don't have any that are large enough, so we will just leave them in these casserole dishes and just take 2 out each night that we have them. So they are looking and smelling delicious. This is probably going to be our dinner for tonight. All right, I am ready to make the Hannah banana bread. Again, I am using a chocolate sugar-free cake this time instead of just the yellow. So all you need is 2 eggs, 3 mashed bananas, like a dash of vanilla, and then we're going to sprinkle some fruit sweetener on the top of it. So very easy. I'm going to get my eggs in the bowl, get my bananas mashed. We're going to get it mixed together, put it in the pan, and then sprinkle the monk fruit sweetener on top. And this does take about 45 minutes or so to bake. So I'm going to get this together real quick so it can be working in the oven while I'm getting other stuff done. Okay, so we have our eggs in here and our bananas. And I'm just going to use a potato masher to mash them up. I find that is the easiest. And then we will get everything else in here and get it stirred up. Okay, so there are the bananas mashed up. Again, we just need like a dash of vanilla, maybe a teaspoon or something. I just measure with my heart on that one. And then the sugar-free cake mix. Okay, and that is everything. We are just going to mix it up well and pour it into the pan and then sprinkle the monk fruit sweetener on top. Okay, so I have the cake mixture in here and we are just going to sprinkle a little monk fruit sweetener on top. I'm sure if you wanted to, you could use real sugar, but this is 0 points and it is delicious. I just like to make sure I get a light little sprinkle over the whole top of it because it kind of makes like a nice little crispy crust on it. That is good enough. We're going in the oven for about 45 minutes. Alrighty, here is the chocolate chocolate banana bread. Again, this recipe is from Hannah Banana, or Life with Hannah Banana. I forget exactly what her Instagram handle is, but it is a super simple recipe. Highly recommend. I will let you know in the vlog next week how we like this, and I'm excited to try a piece of it tonight. But it is got to cool down. I did cook this for a little over 50 minutes, so when I stuck a knife in it the first time at 45 minutes, it was still kind of gooey, and I put it in for another 7, I think, and then it seemed perfect. So we'll let you know in the vlog how it is, but she's looking delicious. Alrighty guys, I'm ready to make my corn muffins. I know I've made this a bunch of times, so I'm not going to go through it in detail, but it is 1.5 cups of self-rising cornmeal, 1.5 cans of the sweet cream style corn, and then we're going to do 3 tablespoons of egg whites. So I'm going to mix it up real quick, and then we're going to put it in the muffin tin. These come out to 3 points per muffin on my personal points, but they are so delicious. We love to have them as a side. Cook them at 400 degrees for about 12 minutes, and then I do like to put them on the top rack and just broil them for a minute or two to get them nice and crispy. So let's see if I can do a quick little transition. 1, 2, 3, and just like that, I have my muffins ready to go in the oven for 12 minutes, 400 degrees. Here are the corn muffins fresh out of the oven. Again, I did put them up on broil for just a few minutes, but they're nice and hot right now. I'm going to let them set and cool, and then I'm going to put them in the plastic container that we like to store them in the refrigerator. Alrighty guys, I hope that you enjoyed today's meal prep video. Again, everything will be linked down in the description box below. If you're new here, be sure to like, subscribe, follow me over on Instagram, join the Facebook group, link down in the description box, and I love you guys. We'll see you in the next video. Mwah.